George Gray, and you're listening to the Greeley and surrounding areas' most listened to radio station, and that is Pirate 104.7 FM. Now, I've been promoting this thing for the last couple days about the Titanic and how much my son, Carson, is just infatuated with the Titanic. Well, I started seeing some pop-up ads about exhibit that's coming to the Denver area, and I thought, how cool is that? I reached out to these folks, and I was so fortunate to be able to talk with the gentleman that kind of got this whole thing started. Let's just go ahead and say good morning to John Zaller. How are you doing, John?
Doing well, George. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about Titanic and Immersive Voyage with you and all of our fascinations with the Titanic.
Well, let's real quickly. So give us a little background on you, like jobs and all that kind of fun stuff.
So I've been creating immersive experiences for about 25 years. Mm-hmm. Actually, the first experience I ever created was a Titanic-related exhibition and have created several Titanic exhibitions over the course of that time. I also have been fortunate enough to work on an exhibition called Bodies, the exhibition, which was another fascinating subject matter. I've worked on Jurassic World, the experience, done some exhibits with the artifacts from the CIA that have to do with the Cold War and espionage. And then I've done a lot of work with creating theme parks and attractions as well as experiences for museums. And really what it comes down to with all of these stories is we have a fascination with these various subjects, and we want to hear the stories of those subjects. And that's what really these immersive experiences are. They become sort of these 3D novels, these 3D stories that you walk through, and the more that we can place you in the moment, the more impactful it is for the guest.
Well, and I, like I said, I am so looking forward to this, and Carson doesn't know what's going on, so it's going to be a surprise for him. I was just looking at some of the dates. So it's been 40 years since the Titanic wreck was discovered by a Navy officer, Robert Ballard. Tell us that story.
So, Carson may be able to tell it better than me if he's fascinated with the Titanic, but I'll do my best, and he can check my notes.
Sure.
But Robert Ballard had this idea of where the Titanic was located. He had been studying that on and off. It was a passion of his, and he had narrowed it down to these certain coordinates. But he needed some special equipment to make it to that depth because it's 2.5 miles to the bottom of the ocean in that area. So he went to the Navy and he said, I could find the Titanic if I have this equipment. The Navy said, we will build this equipment for you, but you have to do something for us in return, which is locate 2 missing nuclear submarines that we lost in the 60s. And we have to get those before the Russians find them. So Ballard got the equipment, went out on this mission that was purportedly just to look for the Titanic, found these 2 lost submarines pretty quickly,
wow,
and then was able to redirect his efforts towards those coordinates 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland. And on the overnight, September 1st, 1985, they started to discover this non-organic material on the ocean floor. There were small objects, larger objects, eventually a very large object they found, which turned out to be one of the boilers from the ship. And then, sure enough, they were on the bow section of the Titanic and sent back some stunning photographs using this new technology as well of the bow of the ship, which is now an iconic photograph that we all refer to when we think about the wreck of the Titanic. So it started out as a kind of a covert mission to find these lost submarines, and it ended up making headlines around the world and creating a whole resurgence in interest in the subject of Titanic that really has never subsided since.
Interesting. And then I want to ask you another question. We'll take a quick break and come back and finish up because you have to get going. But why all of a sudden is there such a resurgence of interest in the Titanic? What is it that I'm just amazed that more and more Titanic stuff is coming out?
The farther we get away from the story, the bigger it gets for us. And I think the reason for that really is that Titanic is a story that is like a modern era Greek tragedy. It has all of the elements that come together with the overconfidence of human nature, the hopes and dreams of thousands of people gathered in one place, and the cruel hand of fate that brings that iceberg into the North Atlantic at the exact same time that the Titanic's there. And then you have the aftermath of that impact with the iceberg, where every possible human emotion is expressed in that time period of 2.5 hours between the striking and the sinking. And there are so many people on board that ship, so many stories that throughout our lives, we're always going to be one of those passengers on the Titanic. And as we go through our lifetimes, we're going to identify with different passengers at different times in our lives. There's always a reference point back to the Titanic and something for us to learn from it or to empathize. And that's really what this story is about, is learning those lessons from the ship, but also connecting with those passengers. And that's what Titanic and Immersive Voyage does really well, is it connects you with the passengers like never before.
Very good. When we come back, we're going to talk specifically, what will you experience when you go to this exhibit? But right now, let's do a little Beatles with Please Please Me right here on Pirate. Yeah, you got a little Beatles there with Please Please Me right here on Pirate 104.7 FM, Friday, April 25th. We got about 22 and a half minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock, and continuing on with my very special guest, we're talking about the Titanic and the big exhibit that's coming to Denver. It opens officially May 7th to the public, but I have John Zaller on the phone, and you're the executive director of this whole immersive event?
I am, and George, people can get their tickets at expo-titanic.com. We'll be open every day except for Tuesdays, and we're in the same space where Bubble Planet and Van Gogh was, right downtown in Denver. But we were talking about the experience overall, and you're going to come to the media preview, which is great. Carson will be there. So looking forward to meeting both of you then.
Good.
The experience really is one that is meant to tell the Titanic story in a different way. Of course, we know the Titanic story, but we don't know all those ins and outs, and we don't really know how those passengers felt in those moments. But at Titanic and Immersive Voyage, you get a boarding pass that has a passenger's name on it, and you carry that with you throughout. And when you get to the end of the experience, you see whether your passenger survived or was lost. And that's a very powerful moment. But we also let you board the ship. You explore the grand staircase and the first-class dining areas. You stand on the bridge as the ice warnings come in on the night of April 14th, 1912. You're in the crow's nest trying to spot the iceberg before it's too late. You go into the boiler rooms where the iceberg breaches the hull and water's pouring in. You get into a lifeboat and you witness Titanic's final moments in a 10-minute immersive experience that is truly breathtaking and pulls on all the heartstrings. And then through the magic of virtual reality, you actually get to dive to that wreck site and see Titanic's bow section as you've never seen it before, more clearly than you could see it if you actually dove to the wreck. So we've really tried to use the Titanic story plus this overlay of technology. So it's an entirely new experience that connects you with the story and its passengers like you never imagined possible.
Well, we're so excited to do this. Carson's very familiar with VR. He has a VR system that he plays Gorilla Tag with, so he is just going
He's going to love it.
Oh, he's just going to absolutely love this. I'm going to love it. Now, is this appropriate?
And, along those lines, George, it really is a multi-generational experience too. I mean, kids love it, adults love it. It's great for date nights. It's great for families, grandparents, and grandkids. It really does cross all the generations.
That's awesome. Well, I know I need to let you go, but one more time, and of course, we'll put this on our social media, and I'll be talking about it at great length over the next several weeks, particularly the experience that we had. But for one more time, for people that want to learn more about this and get tickets,
expo-titanic.com is the perfect place to get tickets. You select Denver. We're open every day except for Tuesday. We're right at 3900 Elati Street downtown.
John, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I wish we had another hour with you, because just the stuff that people are going to witness with this and the educational aspects of this is something I truly believe every family should go and see. Young and old alike should go down and see this. But
so thanks, George. Let's schedule some more time to talk about it in more detail once you've been through the experience.
You bet. All right. Well, you take care of yourself. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
That was so much. That was so cool. So anyway, we're going to put all that information on our Pirate Facebook page, so stay tuned for all that. But let's get back to the music with